Welcome back and happy Tuesday. I've got another great episode, another great topic. This week, we are talking about the state of ESG within financial services and large companies in general. And wow, am I so delighted, so honored to have this powerhouse of a guest and Gihan Hyde, who is founder and CEO of Communique. So hello, Gihan. Thank you for being here. Looking lovely, glamorous, bright as ever. So happy for you to have this conversation. So, obviously ESG is a big topic, but I would love to just get to the kind of question that's on a lot of people's minds, at least in conversations that I've had, is ESG is not necessarily a new thing by any means. Why is now the time for ESG? What's going on? Why is this front and center?
The reason it's now, and people are all talking about it, especially with fintechs and financial services, is because there's a lot of external pressure that is being put on organizations to think seriously about it. So if we look at the regulators in the US and the UK, there is new law that are forcing the FTSE 100 and the listed companies to fully disclose what impact do they have on their environment. And if they don't do that, they will be reprimanded, including in the EU, for example. There's a new taxonomy. Even if you're not listed, you are forced. If you're 500 employees and if you're above 500 million turnover, you have to report on your climate impact. So that's the first pressure. Second pressure is the consumers. In the UK, 1 in 3 consumers have said they will only buy a product that is sustainable. In the US, 56% of the Gen Zers have said that they will only buy a product if they see themselves represented in it. And then when it comes to employees, we've heard about the great resignations, we've heard about the quiet quitting. So the employees themselves are now forcing organizations to speak up and work towards their ESG. Hence, the pressure is on. And if they don't do it, they will miss out on their competitiveness and they will lose out on market share.
Very compelling. It's part of regulation. It's what the universe is requiring. It's what your consumers are requiring. It's what your employees are asking you to do. So from all angles, it sounds like it makes a lot of sense business wise and from a environmental perspective as well. So absolutely. Clearly we're in the space of convergence. You have such a illustrious and amazing career. And I loved hearing some of those stories a few months ago when I got to sit, front row and hear about your background. We're talking about the convergence of tech and finance. So what role does tech play in ESG?
I'm a huge believer that tech is going to be driving the ESG agenda because ESG is all about data and it's all about measurement. And I think technology is definitely going to speed up the innovation of how can we gather this data. Also, technology played a huge role in closing the gap for financial inclusion, for example, after what we have been through thanks to the pandemic. So technology is the driver. Technology is the enabler for ESG to come to life, because without data, we will not be able to save our people or our planet, because we will not know which initiatives we should be implementing within our business models. We will not know which initiatives would actually contribute to saving our planet and our people.
Love it. So if we're sitting here, which you've done so many times in your career, at the boardroom or in any, room with the business leaders of these big companies or even small companies. So outside of the fact that, regulation, every other part of the ecosystem we talked about that is requiring this to happen, even if they have a desire to do this without all of the requirements, how do you get started? It can be kind of overwhelming to get into this topic. So where do you start? Or how do you get the ball rolling?
It's not a cookie cutter, I must admit. Okay. So do not look around you and see what others are doing and then try to imitate it. It won't work for you. My advice is to think about your purpose, to think, why do you want to become ESG compliant? What external pressure versus what internal desire you have in place, okay? Then you look at your business model. You look at your processes, your procedures. You determine what are the gaps that needs to be filled for you to become an ESG compliant organization. Once you figure out what the gaps are, you need to bring in the right partners, Scarlett, because without partners, your initiatives will not work, because you are not the technical expert, for example, as an organization to calculate your own carbon footprint. You wouldn't know. And especially in fintechs, they wouldn't have the right resources. They wouldn't have the right skill set to do so. So my advice, look at your why, i.e. your purpose. Look at your business model. Find the right partners to help you achieve that, and measurement. Measure, measure, and measure, because without measure, you won't be able to report. And without reporting, you will not stand out from your competition. And you will not attract the right talent into your organization. And most importantly, for me personally as a businesswoman as well, you won't be able to attract the right investors, because the investors are the ones who actually will read your ESG reports.
Again, another very thorough answer. You look like you've been doing this many times, because you know it very, very well in and out, which is just fantastic. And I think that, speaking of partners, clearly it sounds like you would be a great option for one of those partners, just given your background and your experience in the space. So lots there. And it's interesting because what you're talking about, the advice you gave, being in my roles in the past, being on the innovation side and talking to a lot of the smaller and even medium-sized financial institutions, it is all those things. It's like, is your strategy set up for this? Are you just doing this because someone else is doing it? What is your why? How does this apply to you? And how do you put your version of it to make it unique and special? So many great gems, Gihan. I really appreciate the time. Thank you so much. And for all of you, Gihan's full background, lots of interesting information on there, has had a illustrious and incredible career. You will find some things you will be surprised by in a pleasant way. So please take a look at the full Q&A. And until next week.